I'm currently thinking about exactly what I want to do for the next polystyrene drawing project, which will ultimately be another prop character for the 99th Dan Hamming episode. I'm primarily thinking about what image to draw on their face mask. I could do another skull, or I could do something else. And I'm also currently working on a project in Camtasia 2019 to make a basic slideshow of all the polystyrene drawings that I finished in 2022. That project I worked on over these past days, I wasn't able to finish it in time for it to be part of the 2022 polystyrene drawings, but I was able to finish it before Dan and I left, ultimately to go to the house of a family member on his side in order to celebrate the birthdays of a few members. I was able to finish the polystyrene drawing, the Christmas wreath ball, by working pretty consistently through the morning hours since I got up today, of which I'm not really sure of, but I recall around 6:30 in the morning, Dad made me. It was actually around 9 in the morning that I had what ended up being my second morning cup of coffee, but Dad made a special Irish coffee. By putting some whiskey in the coffee, then some creamer, and then some whipped cream on top. It was pretty special, and I think I had my first cup maybe around 8 in the morning. I'm not entirely sure of exactly when I got up today, but I think it was around 6 in the morning. Currently, the main issue with the 2022 Polystyrene slideshow is ultimately deciding exactly what music I want to use for the slideshow. I recall having roughly 3 cups of coffee in the morning. I think roughly from 8 at the latest. To about 10. 8 at the latest for when I started. Could have started as early as 6 in the morning. And I drank so slowly because I was so focused during the morning hours on coloring around all the pine cones, berries, tulips, and the sunflower. Which thankfully was made relatively stress-free due to the tracing I did prior. While I colored around the spear, at times I had to take little breaks and wash my hands so that any marker that got on due to wet marker wouldn't bleed onto the yellow areas of the polystyrene drawing project, the Christmas wreath ball. And thankfully I avoided any bleeding of light blue onto the yellow areas, so it turned out fine. I used these 2 Sharpie markers for the coloring in. I used the chisel tip for essentially situations that weren't precise enough to require the use of this or even this, essentially to require the use of this dual tip. And the reason why I made use of this chisel tip is because I got a sense that this was starting to dry out a bit, but thankfully it was able to do the job. This is the same cup that I had the evening Irish coffee in, which Dad made around 6:30 p.m. I finished the Christmas Reef Ball polystyrene project at 1:29 p.m. As I colored around the spear, I would do these little touch-ups. With Sharpie markers like these. Because I wanted to ensure that I did the best job possible on that polystyrene drawing project, as it's intended as a gift for my mom. And if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. Dad and I left to go to the family party around 2:30 p.m. Though right before we arrived, Dad made a quick stop at McDonald's for a quick bite to eat. All I had prior to that point was essentially just some coffee, but I didn't really feel hungry. I believe Dad initially said he would get 2 cheeseburgers, one for both of us, but he ended up getting 4. 2 for each of us. And the quickest route to where the party was closed. That road was closed. And on the way, I think it may have been closed because on the way to our alternate route, we saw the aftermath of a pretty bad collision on the road. The gray car that was involved looked pretty crumpled up. Hopefully everyone involved was okay. We arrived at the family party around 3 p.m. We were there for roughly an hour or two. I generally spent my time enjoying the food that was at the party, primarily the pizza and chips and dip, Cool Ranch Doritos, dip being French onion dip, and then some vanilla cupcakes, some with vanilla frosting, some with chocolate frosting, and some of these small little cookies with jelly filled in them. And I tried making some small talk with the party guests, family members on Dad's side, petting one of the cats, which mostly had white fur, and showing the picture I took of the polystyrene drawing project that I finished earlier today. And then afterwards, when we left, at the time there was a football, it was about halftime of a football game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. And Minnesota was losing the game by quite a bit, since some interceptions were thrown. I think there was a fumble mixed in too. The Vikings did really badly during that game. And when we left, on the way home, we briefly, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, visited Dad's parents at their house. And to kind of, in a sort of sense, check up on Grandpa. He's doing pretty well. If I recall, currently on the second cup of the evening coffee. And that evening Irish coffee was the first cup of the evening. I drank mostly Wegmans brand Coca-Cola and 7-Up before I realized that the fridge had one of those water/ice dispensers. Took one of my cousins, using it for me to realize that, even though I am aware of that kind of device being on some refrigerators. Lately, despite it being winter, the weather in our area has been more reminiscent of fall. If it rains instead of snowing, but it makes the streets wet all the same, so you still have to be careful when walking down driveways made of similar materials to the streets. And today was a cloudy, overcast day. I recall falling asleep in the evening, shortly after we got back from that family birthday party and that brief visit of Dad's parents. And I think I fell asleep around 7 p.m. ultimately, and I woke up some hours later.